Joint pain is one of aging's most misunderstood signals, something many chalk up to wear and tear or blame on the weather. But what if that daily ache in your knees, hands, or hips isn't just about cartilage or age? What if it's your body's quiet alarm, warning that inflammation is rising, circulation is slowing, and deeper systems are under strain? So in this episode, we'll uncover one simple drink, taken once a day, that can begin reversing that process naturally, from the inside out. Welcome back to the Senior Health Podcast, where we separate myth from medicine and help you stay strong, steady, and independent for life. Today, we're going straight to the root of chronic joint pain, not just the joints themselves, but the silent inflammation and nutrient gaps that fuel stiffness, swelling, and fatigue after 60. Because according to leading Japanese studies, more than 70% of seniors experience joint pain that's worsened by common foods, skipped routines, and missing micronutrients, often without realizing it. And sitting across from me is Japan's oldest physician, who is living proof that pain isn't a sentence, but a signal. And when we listen closely, the body shows us how to heal. Doctor, welcome.
Thank you, John. It's always a pleasure to be here. And I want to ask our listeners something simple. Have you ever stood up in the morning and felt that sharp pull in your knees, or a dull ache in your hands that lingers longer than it should? That small pain is often the body's quiet way of saying that it needs help.
Yes. And that kind of discomfort, however small, often shows up before the real trouble begins. It's the body speaking in whispers, long before it starts to shout.
Exactly. Joint pain doesn't arrive overnight. It builds quietly as inflammation sets in and circulation slows. Flexibility fades, movement feels heavier, and energy drops. It's often blamed on age, but really it's the body asking for support. So today we'll share one simple drink that helps restore that support, easing inflammation, feeding the joints, and bringing back a sense of lightness. Stay with us. This small habit could make a big difference.
That reminds me of one of my patients, a retired nurse, 82 years old, who had been living with chronic knee pain for over a decade. She started drinking this anti-inflammatory blend every morning, just 1 cup a day. After 2 weeks, she told me her legs felt lighter, her pain had softened, and for the first time in years, she was sleeping through the night without discomfort.
Amazing to hear that, John. So my question to everyone listening right now is to comment whether you are going to try this drink and like this video. And I would love it if you could come back to this video and tell us what changed. Just give it 1 or 2 weeks.
That's exactly what this podcast is about. Real change, grounded in science and lived experience. So let's break it down. What exactly is in this daily cup? How does it fight inflammation? And why does it work so quickly, especially for seniors?
The base of this drink is turmeric, but not just for its reputation. Turmeric contains curcumin, which is one of nature's most studied anti-inflammatory compounds. It reduces the activity of NF-κB, a molecule that signals inflammation throughout the body, especially in the joints. For seniors, this is critical because chronic inflammation doesn't just cause pain, it blocks healing. When curcumin enters the bloodstream consistently, it begins to soften that internal fire.
That's fascinating. So it's not just about reducing symptoms. It's about reopening the body's ability to repair.
Exactly. And we support that with a pinch of black pepper. It sounds simple, but it makes all the difference. Black pepper contains piperine, which increases curcumin absorption by up to 2,000%. Without it, most of the turmeric's power would be lost before it ever reaches your joints.
I've read that most supplements fail simply because of poor absorption. You're saying this little spice makes the whole formula work.
Yes, and that's why I always teach. Every ingredient must serve a purpose, even the smallest ones. The body notices everything.
What else is in the cup?
The next is moringa, a green leafy powder used for centuries in Japan and India. It's rich in magnesium, calcium and natural antioxidants that support both joint tissue and immune regulation. And for seniors, moringa is especially helpful in restoring the nutrients often lost with age.
That's something many people forget, that inflammation often comes from what's missing, not just what's present.
Yes, and I know many listeners are already reaching for a pen, but don't worry, we'll share the full recipe with exact amounts and preparation at the end of this episode. For now, just stay with us, because the why is just as important as the how. If you understand what your body is getting, you're more likely to keep the habit. And that's where real healing happens. Now, the final ingredient is warm water. Not hot, not cold, just warm enough to help the body absorb without triggering stress.
So even temperature becomes part of the medicine.
Absolutely. Warm water relaxes the stomach lining and helps the nutrients reach the bloodstream faster. It's a small detail, but for older adults, those small things make a big difference. I always say, treat the body like a guest. Offer warmth, gentleness, and consistency.
This blend isn't complicated, but it sounds incredibly intentional.
It is. And intentional care is what most people miss. They look for big solutions when the quiet daily choices are what truly change the body. 1 cup a day isn't a miracle. It's a message to your joints saying, we haven't given up on you.
That line really landed, because for so many of our listeners, this isn't just about pain, it's about hope. It's about knowing the body still responds, that healing is still possible no matter your age. And if one daily habit can help you move through life with less pain and more freedom, that's worth sticking with. But here's what I want to understand. If joint pain isn't where inflammation begins, then where does it really start?
Inflammation rarely begins in the joints themselves. In most cases, it starts in the gut, the place where nutrients are absorbed, where immune responses are triggered, and where the body decides whether to heal or defend. When the gut becomes imbalanced, from stress, poor diet, or age-related decline, it leaks microscopic particles into the bloodstream. The immune system sees these as threats and begins to attack. Over time, this systemic inflammation finds its way to the joints, where it settles quietly, causing pain and stiffness.
That changes the whole conversation, because now we're not just treating the joints, we're treating the whole internal ecosystem.
Exactly. That's why the drink we talked about works so well. It's not just anti-inflammatory. It's also deeply nourishing to the gut. Turmeric, moringa, and warm water help soothe the gut lining and reduce that overactive immune response. When the gut is calm, the joints often follow.
So when people say, my knees hurt, they should also be thinking, what's happening in my gut?
Yes, because the body is connected in ways most people never realize. Pain is rarely local. It's usually systemic.
That makes me wonder how many other symptoms are really inflammation in disguise.
More than most people suspect. Fatigue, brain fog, skin problems, even mood swings. They're often driven by the same root cause. And when you calm that internal fire, the entire system begins to function better. That's why I never treat joint pain in isolation. I always ask, what else is happening in this person's life? Sleep, digestion, memory, energy, it all plays a role.
It's like the joints are just where the story shows up, not where it begins.
Beautifully said. That's why real healing takes curiosity. We must ask better questions, not just what hurts, but why now, and what has this body been trying to say? And once you start listening, the answers are often simpler than we expect.
I think many people need to hear that their body isn't broken, just overloaded.
Yes, and overloaded systems can be unburdened. That's the gift of this kind of daily care. It doesn't just treat symptoms, it restores trust between you and your body.
That idea of trust really speaks to people, because once you believe your body is capable again, everything else, movement, motivation, even mood, starts to shift.
And that's why consistency matters more than intensity. You don't need drastic changes. You need steady care, given with patience. That's how inflammation fades and strength returns.
That's a powerful shift, not just treating the pain, but rebuilding the foundation beneath it. Because for many people, the question isn't just, what should I take? It's, how do I live in a way that keeps inflammation down long after the pain fades? So let's talk about that before we reveal the exact recipe for the drink. Doctor, what are the habits, beyond the cup, that you recommend to reduce inflammation and stay strong every day?
The first habit is walking, not fast, not far, but daily. Movement is what keeps the lymphatic system draining inflammation, especially in the legs and hips. I often tell my patients, the less you move, the more the pain settles. Even 10 minutes after meals can change everything.
That's reassuring, because it sounds manageable, even for someone with limited mobility.
Exactly. You don't need a gym or special equipment. Just the willingness to move your body with care. And ideally, do it outside, because the light, air and rhythm restore more than just the joints.
So even the setting matters. You're saying nature itself becomes part of the therapy.
Yes, and so does rest. Deep, regular sleep is one of the most anti-inflammatory tools we have. Yet many seniors don't sleep well, and they don't realize how much that affects their recovery. If the body doesn't enter deep sleep, it cannot repair the cartilage, soothe the nerves, or flush the toxins that fuel inflammation. That's why I often recommend a simple wind-down routine. No screens an hour before bed, warm feet, and something that signals safety. A routine, a sound, a scent. These small cues tell the nervous system it's safe to let go.
That last part is so overlooked. The idea that inflammation isn't just physical, but neurological too.
Very much so. Chronic stress creates chronic inflammation. And unless you soothe the nervous system, the fire keeps burning.
It really reframes the problem, because so many people are trying to fight inflammation with supplements alone, when in fact, it's their habits, their breath, their sleep, and their movement that do most of the heavy lifting. And that brings us to the question I know everyone's been waiting for. What's the exact recipe for this daily anti-inflammatory drink?
The recipe is simple, but every part has a reason. Start with half a teaspoon of turmeric powder. Add a pinch of black pepper to unlock its power. Then stir in 1 full teaspoon of moringa powder.
That's easy enough to remember, but how do we prepare it?
Use 1 cup of warm water, not hot. Mix everything well and let it sit for a minute so the powders dissolve slightly. Then sip it slowly, ideally in the morning.
Morning matters more than people think. Why is that?
Because inflammation tends to spike overnight while the body is still. By drinking this blend in the morning, you send a clear message to your system. Reduce swelling, calm the nerves, and begin the day in balance. Plus, the body absorbs nutrients more efficiently in a fasted state. I've seen patients regain mobility, ease pain, and even sleep better within 2 weeks of starting this habit. But consistency is key. The real benefits come after 2 to 3 weeks of daily use. That's when the inflammation begins to truly fade.
That's incredibly encouraging and also empowering.
It is, because it shows that healing doesn't have to be complicated, just thoughtful.
And I think that's what makes this so powerful. It's not some extreme protocol. It's a gentle daily act that helps the body remember how to heal. So if you are still listening, stay with me for this very important and final question. Doctor, when someone's making this drink each morning, is there a certain food or type of meal they should pair it with to get the best results?
Absolutely. The drink works best on an empty stomach, but if you do eat soon after, keep it simple and anti-inflammatory. Steamed greens, a boiled egg, or a small bowl of fermented vegetables like miso or pickled daikon can support absorption and reduce digestive stress. What you want to avoid is sugar, fried foods, or processed oils. They can cancel out the benefits before they begin. Give your body something gentle, something that says, "We're here to heal today."
That's such a powerful image, starting the day not with stress or stimulation, but with nourishment. And I hope that's what this episode gives our listeners. Not just information, but permission to care for themselves. Please let us know your feedback in the comments, like this video, and hopefully see you in the next one.